The brutal stabbing of a young woman by a schizophrenic man who had been charged 14 times in the past has the administration making accusations against Democrats and the media. Take a look.
This monster should have been locked up, and Arena should still be alive. But Democrat politicians, liberal judges, and weak prosecutors would rather virtue signal than lock up criminals and protect their communities. And perhaps most shamefully of all, the majority of the media, many outlets in this room, decided that her murder was not worth reporting on originally because it does not fit a preferred narrative.
Look, a young woman is dead. Let's take that into consideration. And yes, a man who should have been behind bars was loose and out.
Well, he should have been.
Well, listen.
Yeah.
He was a schizophrenic man. His mother begged them to take him and put him away. So stop politicizing this. This is not political. This has to do with how we take care of our sick Americans when they are in need.
But you know what, Whoopi? I have to say.
Let me just say.
Finish.
And so if y'all could stop cutting funding
a good one.
for places.
But that's why it is political.
How about that?
That is exactly why it is a political situation, because in the first 40 days of the Trump administration, this one, they terminated 128 grants from the National Institute of Mental Health. In May, they cut $1 billion in federal grants for mental health services. And
$1 billion?
Yes. And then they talk about, oh, mentally ill people are with the guns and mentally ill people are killing, blah, blah, blah. But then they cut the services. So it is political.
I also don't think most Americans hear a tragedy and see that video footage and think, ooh, is this the Democrats or the Republicans' fault? They think, what went wrong and what could the solution be? And for me, I think why this is sticking with people is Americans, we want to be the shining city on a hill where a Ukrainian refugee can come, flee war, leave a bomb shelter, and live and not get killed on American public transit. That is the problem. And there are two issues that could be... We'd like it for Americans, too. And there are two issues that could address this. To your point, Whoopi, bail reform. Somebody should not be a 14-time offender and be back on the streets, but also mental health services. Because if someone is severely, dangerously mentally ill, we don't treat mental health in a systematic way anymore in this country. There needs to be a safe, responsible place that people like him can be where this will happen.
They cut everything.
But to be honest, even before that was cut, it wasn't
when the mental institutions were shut in the 70s, when they kicked everyone out on the streets. And then a lot of times they became homeless, and then they started medicating themselves. They didn't have medical care. It's like a prophecy, like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of trouble. And so this man, not everyone who is schizophrenic commits crimes. There are many that manage it with medication.
But his mom
knew. His mom had said, and this isn't the first major national story we're hearing of a close loved one saying they refused treatment. There has to be something between prison and walking free that keeps everyone safe. Because when you refuse medical treatment and you are this sort of risk, you should never be out and about when the red flags were raised.
And also...
You know, I think that everything all of you are saying is just absolutely on point on this. Having been a prosecutor, having seen people with mental illness commit violent crimes, and then be placed in a federal prison or be placed in a local jail. They don't get the services they need, and it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. We need to take care of people that are mentally ill. It is a pandemic at this point. It is a pandemic at this point. And yes, we must be smart on crime, but part of being smart on crime is making sure that people have access to health care, including mental health care, when they are in prison. And that is something that people don't understand. That doesn't happen. So the fallback always is, they need to be put in jail. They need to be put in jail. Yes, they do need to be perhaps incarcerated, but what about a mental health facility?
Well, institutionalizing people, and making sure we no longer deal with things like Willowbrook. I don't know if y'all remember that. But the other thing is, stop trying to place blood on people's hands. Nobody in this country wanted that young lady to die.
No.
Nobody.
No,
Nobody.
but she keeps pointing to Democratic states. Meanwhile, there's much more crime in red states in this country. I could list them for you.
But the problem is, it's not red or blue. Crime doesn't care.
Yeah.
No one comes up to you with a gun and says, "Are you Democrat or Republican?"
Right.
No, but it's
Or an
policy.
independent.
It's policy.
You know, but every time you blame somebody for this, it makes people say, "Well, you let it happen." Because you made these cuts that you're not saying to us, we're overcrowded, we're making cuts so we can build different facilities, or we're training new people. You gotta help. You gotta help. You gotta be a help and not a hindrance. This crime is horrific. It could have been anybody's daughter.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to remember when a parent is begging, begging, as his mother did, beg them to take him and put him in an institution. For God's sakes, somebody listen.
Yeah.